Thank you for joining me. This is Katie Whitledge with the Beyond the Technique podcast. We're talking about how to walk away successfully. I have a first time guest here who is killing the mother effing game in this industry, and I cannot wait for you to learn from her, hear from her, be inspired by her. I have Terra Harvell here, who is the founder and CEO of Harper Ellis Hair Co., a bootstrapped multi eight-figure luxury hair extension and stylist education brand disrupting the beauty industry as we know it. Her success in the beauty industry began in 2017 when she opened her first salon. She has now founded Strata Salon Systems, a salon model that empowers other salon owners to create profitable, wealth building empires without being tied to the chair. In 2019, she went on to build Harper Ellis Hair Co., a $12 million luxury hair extension company. With less than a 2% return rate, they set the standard for, is that the great way to say that?
Yeah, the quality. So yeah, 0.02% return rate. So
Okay, I'm
two
going to
out
say
of
that part
every.
again. We'll
Yeah,
edit that.
you're good. You're good.
With a 2% return rate, Harper Ellis Hair Co. sets the standard for quality, always putting its customers first. In 2020, she launched Harper Ellis Education, which has helped stylists and salon owners generate, ready for this, over $205 million in new revenue by combining high ticket services with effective business strategies. Her mission is simple: stylists should no longer trade all of their time for money, and salon owners deserve to scale profitable wealth building empires. Can we get an amen to this? So, without further ado, help me welcome Miss Terra Harvell. Welcome to Beyond the Technique.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Katie. I'm just honored that invited me on here, and I'm excited to just chat with you about all the things. I know that you are such a powerhouse. I'm just so inspired by what you have built. So I know that your listeners are probably so loyal because you're just incredible. But what an intro. So thank you. I don't, I'm sure my team helped out with that, but I was like, man, okay, I'll listen to
You've
that
done a
over and
few
over.
things. No, you've done a few things. You've achieved some things. It's really, really inspiring. And I want to start at the very beginning. 2017 to open a salon is not that long ago, but was that the beginning for you? Like, where did you get your start in the industry? What brought you to the beauty industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a hairstylist for about 7 years behind the chair. I live in Oklahoma, small town Oklahoma. I'm talking you guys. I think we have two stoplights, and about 3,500 people. And my parents are just regular blue collar people. My mom's a public school teacher. My dad was a used car salesman. And, I had big dreams. And I think it was just all rooted down to like, I wanted a different reality than what I grew up. I had a great childhood. My parents are amazing. I've learned now that I have my own child, all children need is a bunch of love. So mamas out there listening, don't get all stressed out about the superficial things. But I did want a better future. And I picked the beauty industry. That's where I think most people are like, wait, what? Because everybody listening, probably 95%, you guys were all looked down on for being hairstylists, right? And they make no money and all the things. But what I did was I just was like, wait a second. If I took, five clients in a day and they all paid me $200, I'm making, anywhere from, $1,000 a day plus, and I can just add that up and I can reverse engineer and choose the amount of money that I make. And I don't know why. No one taught me to have that thought process, but it was that simple for me. And so I was like, beauty industry it is. But I packed my bags, moved to Las Vegas, and worked under a guy named Kelly Cardenas. He is still one of my mentors, but he taught me how to work behind the chair. And he taught me how to do things fast and efficiently and make a lot of money behind the chair. And he taught me what it took to build a clientele. And that is sometimes working 7 days a week or 8 days a week, even whenever, you're first getting started. And so he really got me a start in this industry. But I moved out there, found a roommate on Craigslist, and stayed for a couple of years. And I learned under him before moving back and deciding I wanted to be close to family. So I was booth renting behind the chair as a hairstylist for about 7 years before I decided to open my salon. I wanted to have at least my own clientele to carry, to pay the bills and all the things. And so I did what normal people do. I refinanced my home in order to pay for the construction loan. And that's how I got started, with my salon.
Wow. What did that look like? Did you open with booth renters or chair renters? Did you open with W-2 employees? Was this still in Vegas?
No, I had moved back to Fort Smith, Arkansas, which was like right close to my hometown here in Oklahoma. We're right on the line. So no, I actually, from the get, after me, being a booth renter for a long time, it wasn't like, and I'm not here to like bash on anybody's business model at all, but wasn't hard for me to understand how not scalable that was. It's a lot like multifamily real estate, which is actually a business my husband and I do together. And, in order for us to scale, we have to buy more buildings, right? We have to like expand the square footage, and it's really hard to maximize the revenue per square footage. And so when I opened, I'm like, I'm not going to do that model because I'll never be, profitable and never be able to, scale that way. So I did, but I did things really wrong. I had like 75% commission that I offered because I wanted to save the world. And I wanted to everybody to think I was generous and all the things. And so I just failed. I had 3 turnovers before I finally decided, hey, let's look in the mirror and get this figured out. But yeah, that's how it got started.
Wow. So a lot of early lessons.
Yeah.
Interesting because you reverse engineer how to be successful financially as a provider.
Yeah.
And now as a owner, it you had to learn differently to
Yeah.
finally say what's going to be the win across the board. So what did you kind of land on that became your
Yeah.
business model?
Yeah. At first, I started with a sliding scale. And here's the thing. I think this is where salon owners, if you're listening, I think you'll get intrigued because I had that first walkout, right? It's like everybody left and I was like, "Oh no." Like, and then I started evaluating my leadership. That was and I'm glad looking back that that was the first thing that I looked at. I'm like, "All right, what is wrong with me? Why what and it's not always something wrong with you owners that are listening to this, but we can always be better leaders. And I've learned that even now, more than a decade into being an entrepreneur, I'm like, man, I spend around probably 3 to 4 hours a week on just my leadership skills. It's just you're constantly learning, right? So that was the first thing that I really looked at. But then I got to, when I had people walk out, they were leaving and they were opening salons. And then 2 to 3 years later, they would call me up and say, "Hey, I'm failing. I'm not profitable." And then that happened again, and then it happened again. And I was like, okay, this isn't, I may raise them up as a stylist, but they're set up for failure for their future. And it's because they didn't know how to run a business, just like I didn't know. And that's why I was having these problems. And then I got to thinking, I had this stylist that left, and she was very successful. She had started making, three and $400,000 behind the chair. And, because we were a high ticket service salon right there in a small town, America, by the way. I always say that because people are like, oh, you must be in a big city. No, no, no. A town of 80,000 people, we were high ticket service. And so um, I, was like, why wouldn't she leave? Because I can't pay her more commission. And that was like when she told me, hey, I'm thinking about venturing out and doing my own thing. I literally asked myself, why? Okay, why wouldn't? And if I can answer that myself, then I think the answer is that she does need to move on and go on her own. But I'm sitting here as an owner and I'm like, okay, now I have to go back to ground zero and scale someone else again in order to even get to where I'm at. And that's going to take me some time because it took me time to train her. And I got to thinking, I'm like, this is a vicious cycle and I literally looked at my now business partner and I said, I will never own another salon again. And I'm thinking about, shutting this down. At the time I had about, and this is an important part of that story, I had a $750,000 in revenue business for myself behind the chair. So I was also behind the chair. I was floating the entire
Wow.
business. Yeah. Working 4 days a week, by the way.
Wow.
I had around 72 extension clients. About 80% of my clientele was extensions. The rest was color. But I worked with 2 assistants. I would see 9 to 10 extension clients a day. So I was just pumping them through. And I think most stylists are like, man, I would love to get there. But the truth is, and this kind of, attaches to the story about the stylist that left me. I literally, you guys, even after building $750,000 behind the chair, I was still stuck behind the chair Because the minute that and actually my husband and I had met the love of my life, I wanted to start a family. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on maternity leave and we're going to have to scale back our livelihood in order for me to go and even have a maternity leave or even go and be able to, have a baby and take care of it, right? And so that is when things started not setting well for me in this industry. And the thing is like, I think what has got me to where I'm at today, and we'll get there as far as creating Strata and the new system and salons that I have, is me being able to face those things that all of you guys listening are dealing with, whether you're doing it through your people or you're doing it yourself. But the truth is about our business, and I love being a hairstylist, but when you're behind the chair, that's the only way that you can make money. And if you don't show up, if you get sick, if you have a surprise spine surgery like I did this last year, thankfully I've not been behind the chair in years and I have businesses that have systems and it was no problem, but it would have been if I was behind the chair. And so then I was like, okay, the stylist goes out, she opens her own salon, she fails also, she's not profitable. It's just a vicious cycle. We have to fix this. And so now, we just branded it this year, but we've been working on these systems for about 5 years. Now we create a salon system. It's called Strata. We focus on high ticket sales. This is a huge part of it because I think we're in the industry, we're like, oh, color clients are your bread and butter. I hear that a lot, right? It's like, okay, but instead of emotionally saying that, let's lead by data because I promise that's a more peaceful place to live. And let's look at the margins. But here's what I usually, hear. But the margins are smaller with extensions because the product is so expensive. And I'm like, yeah, but what you're not thinking about is how fast you can do it because time has everything to do with the profitability and how we're pricing services. So if you can do a color in 2 hours and profit, $150, great. I think that's awesome. But what if you could do extensions in 2 hours and you can profit more like $500 and $600 in the same amount of time? And so that's exactly why we focus on that because we reach with Strata Salons, our target is 25 to 30% profitable. And so when you have that profit margin, you have the room as you scale to create new programs for your stylist, which is all right, if you're going to come in star player and you're going to be such a great leader and great trainer, and you're going to help me train the next 30 people that are going to make the salon another $5 million, I'll give you 5% of it. And that's passive income after you've trained them and they're out on their own. And so that's money that that person that is so loyal to you doesn't have to show up behind the chair. I have stylists right now that literally with their monthly check are paying their mortgage with it. And we're just at the beginning of this stage. But it's just those are the type of things that we have to start thinking about as owners because you're giving your team a dead end street.
Mhm. I'm curious for a lot of owners listening who have, let's say, a shareholder program in place. How does this differ from that?
Yeah, so that's another thing that I get kind of riled up about, to be honest with you.
Get riled up,
Like,
girl. I bought it.
it's like, yeah, here's some equity. Here's, you can be a shareholder, you can, all of these things, but you're not building a business that's valuable enough to exit. So what's the value to them? So you're basically putting these golden handcuffs on people that won't have much value in the end.
Well, that's the whole point of our talk, how to walk away successfully. So I heard a recent stat that 8 out of 10 salons don't sell. Only
Yeah,
2 out of 10 salons where the owners are ready to retire or move on
yeah,
sell. That means 8 out of 10 do not sell. So
exactly.
owners are just so discouraged by the end of all this effort. Like you said, this kind of almost hamster
Yeah,
wheel, this
mhm,
vicious cycle. So
yeah.
tell us more about that.
Yeah. So this is like my life's mission and conviction. I know we spoke a bit about this a little bit before the podcast, but I'm very convicted here because I want more salon owners and stylists. I want to train stylists to think this way too. Um, you got to think about your future. Like I am over here, and where this even came to me was, I'm building Harper Ellis. It's scaling so fast. It's You mentioned this in my intro, but it's because we have the best quality hair. People don't have access to our factories and the things that we use, and we really are blowing it out of the water with that because there's so much chaos out there with other hair extensions.
Mm.
But we get loyal customers with Harper Ellis because we teach them how to scale their business. So people are like, I'm going to stay with them because they're helping me make more money. So that's kind of the backstory on that. But, you know, I never started any business to not have an exit. And I think salon owners, like, this is where the gut punch comes in. You guys have to understand there's only three ways to exit a business. There's only three, and we all will experience a three. It's inevitable, just like death is. And matter of fact, that's the number one thing. You can die. That's nobody wants to exit that way. So we'll leave that there. We're not going to do that. But the number two way is that you can just decide to, turn that sign on your door to closed instead of open. And you can sell your shampoo bowls on Facebook Marketplace. And you can just hope that maybe you had a retirement, a 401k that sets you up to go back to zero before you die. It's not wealth building. But it's taught the middle class that that's what wealth building is a retirement. It's not, guys. It sets you up to go to zero. Wealth building is building a new future for you and the generations after you. And so with that, the third way, which is what everyone should be aiming to do, is to build a business so valuable that you can exit for a profit, that someone else literally looks at it and says, "Hey, this salon is not owner dependent." For my salon now, and this is why we teach other salon owners, I spend an hour on my salon every week, and that hour is literally in a finance call, like getting updates on the data so that I can make data-driven strategy decisions to move it forward. I literally this week was in my salon to get a blowout, and that was I couldn't even, I think it's been over 30 days before since I've stepped foot in there. Now I've had contact with my team. We have a great relationship, but like they don't need me. And so that's what I'm trying to help other people build. So if someone were to come in and buy my salon now, we still have a lot of value that we're still trying to add to this business. So it is exitable someday, but no one would be like, well, it's owner dependent because that's not true. I have great leadership and they don't need me. So the other thing is, owners still behind the chair. I'm sure you guys have a lot of in your audience that are doing that. You guys, like, you can't still be doing the thing with your hands and scale your business. Like, there's no way. Now, the answer, if you don't have a duplicate of you to drive revenue like you can, the answer isn't to quit behind the chair because you'll go down really fast. But you can duplicate you and other people and then come off of behind the chair so you can scale. The other thing is the main thing and the number one thing for me is that loyalty piece with your team. Because if your business sells and that team leaves, so does their clientele, and the value of that business goes back to zero. And the next owner will, they will hate you and they will, talk about you forever. And all of the shampoo bowls will be sold on marketplace, right? And so the thing is we just weren't taught to think like this. And so I'm very passionate to help owners be like, okay, what is the plan when you're at retirement? I get so vividly clear on my future as far as like, I want to sell and exit everything by the time I'm 50. That's my goal. I'm 34 years old right now, so I have a pretty good runway here because I want to build something. I want an exit that's in the B's, the billions. And so, but the reason why is because I want to write my team a check for millions of dollars, and I want to give them the freedom that they've, helped me build because they've helped me build this. But you should be thinking that way because otherwise, if your team doesn't have a reason to stay, that benefits them. And not the reasons to stay like, oh, it's such a good culture. We have new paint on the walls and new shampoo bowls, and we don't gossip in the break room. Guys, that's no reason for someone to stay at a business. Someone stays at a business for what's in it for them because when they lay their head down at night, that's what they're thinking about.
Mm.
So,
That is powerful. I think it's a wake up call for everybody listening.
yeah.
Strata Salon Systems is newer to the scene, but owners can still get involved now. How
Yeah.
do they do that?
Yeah. So we've been piloting with a small group the last year um, in hopes that I wanted to take all these systems. We've tested it in our own salons and they, work like clockwork. And so I'm like, okay, let's go give them to salon owners that don't have me as a partner or something like that. And so that's what we've done. And, we had one salon owner. They literally opened almost a year to go ago now, and she scaled to $1 million in 1 year. At 25% profitability. It was unreal. I was like, you are the model, girlfriend. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, we now have launched our consulting firm. And so in April, we will be opening it up to three paths. The first path is salon owners who want to be a salon owner, but they can't hire past that first and second team member. They can't seem to keep them. It's not, they're having a hard time scaling that team because you have a leadership problem. As much as you don't want to admit that, I'm here to tell you with love, there are some problems that we got to work out with you to get people to want to stay with you and follow you. The second path is more of a lighter consulting where you kind of meet with other owners that are on your same level, and we basically we dig into your person. We want your P&L to be perfect. We want the chart of accounts to read exactly what data, those your salon. Tell us the story, what's going on, basically. We implement those systems. We start implementing that career path for your team. We start getting them bought in on the vision because if your team's not bought in on the vision, this will never work. We start coaching, salon owners to display that vision, to constantly be talking in vision and versus emotion. And so we do some foundational pieces there. And then the top tier is salon owners that are fully ready. We take their bookkeeping. We basically are an extension of their executive team. So for, a monthly fee, you get a CEO that helps you be a CEO in your own business. You get finance, bookkeeping, all of that, payroll. You get an attorney. He won't be able to give legal advice in but someone that can advise you on what to do. We can look over contracts. And then you get two operational, basically associates that help you scale through processes and build those processes. We've already built them. So it's basically on a silver platter. So we give a timeline to turn your business around to make it that target of 25 to 30% profitable. So we can start building out some incentive plans so that your team wants to stay and then you can scale. So yeah.
When you think about exiting successfully, what are owners in the most denial of?
Yeah. I think it makes them uncomfortable because it's a thought that is like so out of, like, they don't want to think about it, right? They're like, I'm just here to make good money today. And that is such a bad way to think because I think that's why people get to the end of this industry, their end, and it's like over. It's just, they can't do it anymore and they have to go find a desk job. And so I think it's just that denial of how hard it is to build a enterprise level business that is exitable. And when I say enterprise level, I'm talking about all of the systems. Like we have a document that we show people and it has tabs. It has like finance, operations, people, which is, your HR piece. And, it has all these things. It has a huge list of things that makes a business or a salon exitable. And getting all those pieces in place takes time and a lot of effort and a lot of self-reflection. And so not every owner can do that. But, that's just it. It's the denial of like, oh gosh, I have a long way to go. So yeah.
So you really have a complete business model
Yeah.
proven to
Mhm.
provide owners
Yeah.
to be like eligible. Let's say it's like, here's your pre-qualifications. You got to be willing to have high ticket services. You
Mhm.
got to be open to 25 to 30% profit margin. Most people be
Right.
like, heck yes. But
Yeah.
there's always this pushback because, and you kind of brought up hearing my talk at data driven, so you knew my weight loss journey. And the one change I made this time around that stuck was I shut my mouth, didn't think that I knew more or better than the expert that I hired to help me. And I
Yeah.
just followed what they told me to do.
Exactly.
So when you get the pushback of now people can't say, oh, I'm in a small town, and you're like, me too.
Mhm.
But there is that mindset of like, well, we do color, how could I ever say no to my barber clients that are so loyal? So how do you help with that emotional shift and
Mhm.
getting people on board with this model?
Yeah. So we actually have an entire program about this one emotional shift, and it's in leadership. Because this is a belief lid problem. And that's what the first thing we help salon owners, because just like you and all the things that you've been able to accomplish, Katie, if you didn't actually think that you could accomplish that, you would never be there. Like if you didn't actually believe, and I think owners want to be like, oh yeah, I can have a multi-million dollar business. I can have 5 locations, but they don't actually believe it here and here. Like this has to connect, right? And so it's a belief led issue. And when they give pushback, they're like, I don't believe that I can actually get my team to operate in such high performance in order to scale this, right? Because they're not willing to go back and do the hard things in order
Mm,
to get them to do so. And so we have to take those lids, and we all have them. Here's the thing, we have such broken beliefs. I laugh so hard. Sometimes I tell this story. For the first like few years of our marriage, I used to take like dryer sheets and I would like rip them apart. And because that's what my family did, like,
wow. Yeah.
and
Conserve. Yeah.
yes, and as I grew in my own career, I was like, wait, why am I doing this? It's just like that is a belief that we're instilled and like we can't get it, but we have to face them head on and go, hey, I don't have to give someone pushback, but a lot of times pushback comes from just it's a self-reflection. It's because they don't believe that what you're saying could actually happen. So yeah, and that's another thing. You nailed it. Like I am mentored by a group right now. They have multiple 3 and 4 and $500 million companies. And I could not imagine giving them an excuse because all the excuses that I have, they've already been through and they think it's silly, right? And so when you find a mentor that you really believe is going to help you, that's the biggest tip. Like, close your mouth and listen. I had a mentor once tell me that I'm not a real CEO. And looking back, this was 3 or 4 years ago. I was not a real CEO. I was not making data-driven decisions. I was not building strategy based off the future and the vision and how it was going to help my team. And I was just running day to day and just being an operator. And that one conversation made me millions of dollars. And now, since then, that man feels comfortable to tell me the hard things because I took it and I was like, yes, sir. I will go do something with this. And that was 4 years ago. My business was around 6 million and now it's, with everything, it's close to 15 million. And so if I wouldn't have listened to him though, and I'd be like, oh, he's just mean, he's just trying to be mean to me and be emotional about it, I would not be where I'm at today. So
I
yeah.
mean, I applaud you for putting yourself in rooms where you're going to be stretched and out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So number one. And number two, letting go of like ego, pride, and just being offended. I think that is such a learning curve because everybody around us gets offended so easily. And we really
Yeah.
need to check ourselves because, like you said,
Mhm.
that one conversation made you millions of dollars, but you
Yeah.
were humble to accept it and really take a good look at yourself, right? So that's huge. And I think this is so intriguing, Tara. When we're behind the scenes and you're sharing your vision of the future, it gets me fired up and gives me hope for our industry because I love salon owners and I see the defeated
Yes.
um, discouragement that they're
Mhm.
feeling in
Yeah.
this season. So I think that hamster wheel, we could fix that and you have a
Yeah.
way. I
Yeah.
know that it's not even about like who could work with you. It's like, who do you want to work with? What is the
Yeah.
ideal salon brand owner? What do they got to be like?
Yeah. So I love that and it kind of ties to exactly what you just said. We have this thing in our company, and through the process of how we scale stylists that are inside of the salons, but also scaling the owners and their mindset, we have this thing and we call it an ego death, right? And
Mhm.
that is like, we're like, oh, they're going through the ego death, but they're going to come out stronger. We help stylists do the same thing because even if they're new stylists, like still there's an ego there. If you can just solve that, those people will just take over the world. They will be so successful. And so that's the thing, like we help them accomplish, that early on. What was your question? The first one? What was your first question?
As much as people are going to be like, I want to work with Tara, I want to do
Yeah,
this, da, da,
yeah,
da, who do
yeah.
you want to work with? Because,
Yeah, that was where I was
yeah,
going with that. Like, it's the owners that are able to walk in the room and go, hey, I have a lot to fix, and I'm willing to fight like hell. Because for an enterprise level business, you got to fight like hell. It's not easy, or everyone would do it, right? And so we want the owners that are humble enough to go, I'm willing to make that change, and they want to become good leaders. I think we all look at like the processes and the metrics and the data and all of these things like they're really hard. No, the hardest part is you becoming a really great leader. because it takes a lot of looking in the mirror and going, oh, you have a few problems. We need to solve those. We need to dig down deep and, maybe some therapy. I don't know, praying. You need to get with Jesus and you need to, accomplish whatever's happening here so you can become the person you have to be in order to scale and lead other people. And so that's what we look for. We look for people that are, and that's the thing, we interview them coming into Strata, and if we sense that they're like they think they know better, or we're just like, nope, not a good fit, because I will just spin my wheels. I've done that for years with other salon owners, and I'm like, I cannot help you. I have done everything I can. When you are ready to listen to what I have to say, you come on back, and we will be here to help you with open arms. So, yeah.
Well, you said something triggering that many owners are listening to as far as hair extensions. That is the high ticket opportunity. And I'm curious because you said, look, we have the best quality hair.
Yeah.
Our factory is the way we manufacture all the things.
Yeah.
So, for owners listening who are interested in that piece of today's conversation, where should they go? How do they get
Yeah.
started? And what does that investment range look like in time, resources, and financials?
Yeah. So I love that question. So with a couple of things with Harper Ellis, like I always say, you hear every company is like, we're the best at this, right? We lead with data. And I know you mentioned this in the intro, but I want to repeat that our return rate is less than, 0.2%, which means 2 out of every 1,000 wefts that are sold are returned. And sometimes they're returned just for like, hey, we want a different color sort of thing. And so that's always, when I was wanting to be the best when we were early on business, I'm like, okay, I want to not lead by, no, I want to just convince myself I want to be the best. And so that's just it. We solved the quality problem, which is awesome. But what that looks like is we bring in owners and usually their teams, or we bring in, individual stylists a lot too. But we put them through what we call the Extension School of Business. So sure, we teach them how to do the method, that we do. Our method's, fast and safe and all those things but I am not one of those method creators that are like, ours is the best and it's the only way. I'm like, find what works for you and do it quickly. That is what we want and safely. So we teach them how to do that, but then we really focus on that behind the chair business piece. Like, let's look at the right data, let's fix the right things in order to scale. We have stylists that like just this past year, at the end of the year, I usually get like reports from some of our students, and they're like, so many of them added another $100,000 in revenue on their business this past year. And so what a process is just for behind the chair stylists really work. So we have a lot of owners that put their teams in those because they're like, this is my first place to scale. I got to get my people making more than 40 grand a year.
Yeah.
Like, yes, exactly. So we start there, and then usually we take the owners from there, and they go into the leadership, and then they go into strata. But it's always our entry point is working with Harper Ellis because we got to get you doing a service that's profitable, and we got to get you to have a team that's profitable and scaling in order to implement. It doesn't matter how good your processes are if you have no revenue. So
I think
yeah,
it's brilliant. And I love that you focus on the business side because if you
yeah,
don't market it, if you can't sell it, it doesn't matter if you can do it. So
exactly,
that's
exactly.
brilliant. Well, before we wrap it up, I want to hear what would be some final words of wisdom just for salon owners specifically listening today as they think about in their future how to walk away successfully.
Yeah, I want my number one message for all salon owners is just if you have like multi-million dollar convictions, and when I say convictions, I don't mean just, oh, I want to be a millionaire, I want to make, this and that amount of money. If you have that because you want to serve other people and you want to help your teams make more money than they've ever made in their life and have a different future than they've ever experienced or even think that's possible, act on that. Like, I think so many in our industry have that on their heart. They just don't know what to do. They don't know how to scale. They don't know what the right things to do. So believe that you can do it because guys, I literally was in remedial college classes. I am not the smartest person on paper in the room. My only superpower is I outwork everybody, and that is my thing. But I am not the smartest person. I just figure it out. And we have the tool of a lifetime right here. It's ChatGPT. If you don't understand something, look it up. And I promise, and you can even tell ChatGPT to explain it like a third grader if you really need it. I do that sometimes even. And so it's not about being smart. It's not about any of those things. It's just believing that you can do it if you have those convictions. And if I can do it, you can do it. And I say that I will die on that hill. So, yeah.
Man, there's so much to be excited about, but I'm just excited that we finally got to meet this
Yes.
way and shine a light on who you are, what you've done, what you plan on doing. I'm here for it, and I just appreciate you taking the time to be with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you all for joining us here week after week. If you love this platform, please take a moment, leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening so that more people like yourself will discover Beyond the Technique, where we're here to change the way that you are supported in your business.
Did you know over 60% of first-time clients do not return for a second visit? That is so painful, but it doesn't have to be that way. That's where Maya comes in. Maya is the ultimate marketing software for the beauty and wellness industry. We have a proprietary funnel utilizing special algorithms to help connect the right consumers with the right providers at your business. This means that Maya helps you get higher spending clients you love to work with who stay the long haul. If you want to increase your revenue, increase your client count, increase your average ticket, and increase your new client retention, then you need Maya. Go to joinmaya.com to set up your own personal virtual tour and see why over 500,000 consumers have trusted Maya and the businesses we work with to find their perfect beauty and wellness pro. We promise you will love Maya.